wanting the yogis to get the benefits, the 7 benefits of the practice of Satipatthana. This 60-day retreat has been held starting from December 1st. Starting from December 1st, yogis have been practicing. Of course, some have left and some have arrived after the beginning of the retreat. At the start of the retreat, we took the precepts and we learned the method of practice. This is Ogaha and Paripocha. Ogaha, when we learned about the method, first of all, we learned that in brief, there's a field of observation within which objects are arising. And then, when things were not clear, there's the opportunity to discuss with the teacher, Paripocha. And to some extent there's been question and answer format for the talks. So this is the second step in learning. And then hearing about how to practice this method. To know at every arising, to always apply mindfulness every time an object arises. The basic rule of thumb. And then, so that is savana, hearing the method. And then dharana, we have to remember the method. And then samasana, that is using the method, always applying sati, so that the mind connects directly with the object. And when samasana, when we're able to practice so that the mind connects with the object, that is, when samasana, applying the method, is complete, we continue to practice, we continue to apply effort, mindfulness, concentration. And when these energies of virya, sati, and samadhi become developed, then the mind becomes clean. So our sila, at the beginning, we take the sila, so we have clean morality. And so we have sila visuddhi, purity of sila. And when the mind becomes clean, we have citta visuddhi, and that's purity of mind. And based on this pure mind, we continue to practice and develop knowledge. We develop purity of view, detti visuddhi. We come to see that there are mental and physical phenomena, these two things, rupa and nama, nama and rupa. And seeing these, discerning these two, our belief in a soul, in jiva atta, is dispelled. When we continue to practice and develop virya, sati, and samadhi further, then we're still observing the same nama and rupa, the same mental and physical phenomena. But the difference is we come to see how they are related by cause and effect, how they are related as cause and effect. And then it becomes clear to us what we experience is not without a cause. So we see that things have a cause. And further, we see that each thing has an appropriate cause. Because there's an eye, we see. Because there's a visible object, seeing occurs. Because there's a sound, because there's an ear, hearing occurs. So one sees that relevant cause gives rise to relevant effect. And thus the belief that a supreme being is causing the things that we experience, This belief in a creator is dispelled. But at this point, we still have not yet seen the dissolution of the object of observation. When we continue to practice, we come to see the beginning and the end of the objects. We see that the object arises and matures and passes away. It arises, it's there for a moment and then passes away. And continuing to see, we observe that every object of observation is the same. They all disappear. We come to see this. And we also come to see they're all no good. They're all basically unsatisfactory and unsatisfying. And further, we see that none of them contain a self. So we come to see that rupa and nama, the physical and mental phenomena, have common characteristics, these three. And this is the start of Vipassana knowledge. It's described in the text, but Sayadaw is not going to go into that at the moment. When one is doing one's practice, one knows what one's condition is. So we study the method. This is sadhana. We learn what the method is, and we take it in. We remember it. We take it to heart. And then we apply it so that we observe every arising object. This is samasana. And when we apply the method, paṇḍitā occurs. That means penetrative knowledge occurs. Starting with seeing that there are mental and physical phenomena, these two things. And then seeing how these phenomena are related as cause and effect. Further, one comes to see that nama and rupa arise and then pass away. They are impermanent, unsatisfactory, and without an inherent self. Today what Sayadaw will talk about is how this penetrative knowledge, paṇḍitā, occurs when we observe rupa and nama. When our observation comes to be very quick, the special things that arise in one's being. This is what Sayadaw will explain. So it said, observe at the moment of arising. Only then will one see sabhava for sure. So we apply this rule and we observe every seeing, every hearing, and so on while they happen. We apply effort to observe the object so that sati sticks to the object and the mind falls collectedly on the object. Khanika samadhi becomes developed, becomes strong. And then we see the true nature of physicality, the true nature of mentality. So continuing to observe, it said that only when we see the true nature of phenomena do we see their arising and passing away, udaya and biya. So we have to come to observe the nature of phenomena very well. We have to come to see their sabhava quite clearly. And so Sayadaw said that one comes to see the nature, the impermanent nature of phenomena, the unsatisfactory nature of phenomena, and the selfless nature of phenomena. And it's like when one reads, when one starts to read, one tries to read accurately so that one doesn't make any mistakes. But as one continues, one becomes skilled. And with one's noting also, one becomes skilled in noting. So when one reads, when one has gained skill, one knows the meaning of every word so that one can read quickly. So too, when we observe mental and physical phenomena that arise due to causes, we see that they arise and then pass away immediately. And the yogi is able to, at this point, the yogi is able to observe the present mental and physical phenomena precisely, neither too late nor too soon. At this point, in the yogi's mind, light appears. And to some yogis, it may seem like a flame of a candle or a lamp, or it may seem like the light of a light bulb. This is due to the power of Vipassana, that this light arises. In some yogis, it seems like a flash of lightning, or like moonlight, or sunlight, or some other type of light. And for some, it lasts just a moment, and for some, it may last some time. So this is what happens to yogis at the stage of Udayabhya Jnana, seeing the fast arising and passing away of phenomena. And it's not imaginary. This is a real light. This is real phenomena that the yogi sees when this light appears. The knowledge which sees mental and physical phenomena that are related due to causes arise and then pass away. The knowledge that can see that they are impermanent, that they are suffering, that they are without an inherent self. This is Vipassana knowledge, which Sayadaw has mentioned before. Vipassana knowledge sees in a variety of ways. What does it see? It sees mental and physical phenomena, rupa and nama, which are related by cause and effect. The awareness, sati, which occurs together with Vipassana knowledge, is strong. And it's able to note whatever object arises, whether it's something big, something very small, or something in between. So the sati is able to perceive the object immediately. There's no need for the yogi to go and search for an object. The objects seem to line up for the mind to note them. And there's no missing. The mindfulness is very precise. It seems that sati is established on the mental and physical phenomena automatically, and that it falls onto the object accurately. So for that reason, the yogi thinks at this time, there's nothing I can't note. The yogi doesn't see that they're missing anything at all. They see this. So they think very highly of the practice. This type of good mindfulness occurs when at this stage in the practice. Starting with very, very small objects, the yogi is able to observe with Vipassana Paññā. Vipassana Paññā is the knowledge which sees the impermanence, suffering, and selfless nature of phenomena. It's able to see in detail. And this Vipassana Paññā, Vipassana wisdom or knowledge, is able to see the arising and passing away of phenomena very clearly. And it's sharp, like a knife, the way the momentary samadhi falls on the object. It's very sharp. And effort also is always advancing, always progressing. The effort, courageous effort, becomes very evident at this point. And the quality of accurate aim also is very good, and it makes the knowing quite clear. So to the extent that sati is good, the samadhi also becomes good. So because the sati is very, very good at this point, the samadhi is also quite good. And there's an analogy for what it's like when the yogi, how clearly the yogi perceives at this moment. It's as though the mind is like a sharp knife slicing through a tomato repeatedly. So that's how sharp the knowledge becomes at this stage in the practice. Therefore, at that time, the yogi thinks that there's no mental physical phenomena that can't be observed. There's no object being missed. There's no nama, no rupa that is being missed at this point. The yogi knows this. So the yogi is able to see the way in which one sees how things are impermanent, suffering, and selfless is very, very clear. And also other individual true nature, the individual true nature of phenomena also is very, very clear. Not necessarily the main object, but just many other objects. The yogi is able to investigate and know objects very clearly in just a second, in just a moment. And the yogi understands that whatever object is being observed, that yogi is knowing directly. The yogi comes to understand that this is direct knowledge in each moment of awareness and knowledge. And that's not all. There are other special dhammas that arise at this time in the practice, such as faith. The faith which is connected, that occurs together with Vipassana knowledge, is very strong. And at the start, one has faith through understanding the benefits of satipatthana, through hearing about them or learning. And at this point, at the start, our faith is woken up. Either faith in the Buddha or faith in the practice, the Dhamma. And then applying the practice, one observes at every arising to develop sati. And when one's noting becomes strong, one's faith also increases, and one becomes happy with the practice. One becomes decisive about faith. One has this quality is called adhimauka. The faith becomes quite strong through the knowledge that the yogi is gaining in the practice. So initially, faith is woken up, and it grows as knowledge is gained. And at the stage of udyabbiya jnana, it becomes very special. This adhimauka, decisive faith. One comes to a decision that this method of practice is correct, and also that the Buddha who taught this method of practice is also correct, this type of strong faith arises. So to the extent that one has practiced, one has developed, one has dispelled raga, dosa, and moha, greed, anger, and delusion. And so the yogi's mind is very clear. And one reflects that the Buddha practiced, the Buddha developed knowledge, very special knowledge. And so one reflects on the qualities of the Buddha at this time in the practice. Or one may reflect on the Dhamma. The Dhamma is really taught well, was really taught well by the Buddha. When one applies the practice, one gets consistent results. So one may reflect on the quality of the Dhamma, that it is well spoken, or other qualities. And one also may reflect, there are those who have practiced and gained purity of mind. There is the Sangha. So one may reflect also on the qualities of the Sangha. So when one reflects, at this stage, it is very easy to do this type of reflection. The mind seems to sink into become absorbed in these, the qualities of the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha that one reflects upon. So it's said that when we have something good, for example, we have something good to eat, or we have we get something good, we think of others. And so when we get good experience in the Dhamma, we have the desire to tell others about the Dhamma. So there's the desire to speak about the Dhamma, to tell others about how good it is. And then also one has admiration for the qualities one sees in other practicing yogis. And also one may have a strong desire to urge those one loves or has either one's relatives, one's friends, family. One has the desire to tell them about the Dhamma and to urge them to practice. And one also remembers the good things that one's teachers have done, how they've explained the Dhamma or whatever it is, however they've benefited one. One remembers this. So this also, this type of attitude, these type of special mind states arise in one at this stage in the practice due to faith. And this is faith that arises because of the practice. And there's more than this. There's much more than this. So in addition, there is joy. Joy, which there are 5 kinds of joy or piti, starting with small, minor piti, kodaka piti. So this starts to arise when we are free of the obstacles to concentration called nivaranas. And at that point, this minor piti is manifested as goose flesh or shaking in the body. So at the stage of udyabbiya jnana, there can also be, the body may be filled with a very sweet, very refined sense of touch. And this causes a very good type of happiness, peacefulness to arise. So it's something that makes one very joyous. It's very, very good to experience and peaceful. So, at this point, because of the momentum of the joy, piti, because of the power of this piti, the yogi's whole body may feel like it's not touching the ground at all. It feels like it may feel like it is going up in the air, or resting in the air. It may feel as though one is sitting on a cushion full of air and just bobbing gently up and down. This is the type of feeling that one can have at this stage in the practice. And just as piti or joy occurs in a very obvious way, so too happiness and peacefulness arises. And at this point, the yogis are experiencing a pleasure that is far greater than any pleasure of the senses. Even though we think highly of such pleasures, the yogi realizes this is something far better. And thus, the yogi is motivated to continue the practice. And why that is, it's because of getting something that is very good. So from here, the yogi won't retreat, so to speak. The yogi won't go back. They'll continue. So the yogi, having gained joy and peacefulness, piti and sukha, one is free of heat or free of tiredness. This is called one feels very tranquil, and this is called passaddhi. And together with tranquility, there's also lightness, the lightness of body and mind. The body there's no heaviness, and one feels very gentle. The body feels gentle, and also everything works well, very pliable, the body and mind. And also there's no feebleness. The body is capable, body and mind, and also the body and mind become very upright. When kaya passaddhi and the other mind states described arise, then there's no tiredness. One doesn't feel any tiredness, whatever posture one may be in, whether sitting or whether walking, standing, lying down. Whatever posture one may be in, one doesn't feel tired. And there's no heaviness of body. The body and mind also don't feel coarse or rough. And there's no stiffness or rigidity in the body or mind. Also, there's no feebleness and no dishonesty or deceitfulness at this point. So the yogi at that point, if in the past one did something wrong or was dishonest or deceitful, at this point in the practice, the yogi wants to confess such things because the mind and body are very upright at this moment. So these qualities that occur in the practice at this stage are very special, and they make one's mind beautiful. And thus they're called sobhana cetasikas, the elegant concomitant mind states. They occur together with the mind. They make our mind and our life beautiful. So how these mind states make the body and mind special is described as the body and mind become very tranquil because no special effort is needed to observe the objects. It's very comfortable to note. And because the mind is occurring very rapidly, there's a feeling of lightness. Because of being able to observe objects easily, whatever one wants to observe, one can observe it easily. So there's a feeling of gentleness that arises because of that. And one is able to observe as long as one wants, and therefore the body and mind become quite pliable, workable. Because of ease in observing the object of attention, being skilled in noting, the body and mind are very clean. And the mind is also inclined only towards wholesome dhammas at this time. The mind is inclined towards wholesomeness, firmly established in wholesomeness at this time. So the quality of being honest and upright, this is a very good quality, and this is quite distinct at this time. So this is how good the taste of the Dhamma is during the practice. At this time, also there is, in the yogi's being, sukha arises. This is the sukha, happiness and peacefulness, that is very fine and seeps throughout the whole body. It's an experience that the yogi has never had before. Maybe like the comfort of being in an air-conditioned room. So due to the power of this happy peacefulness, the yogi thinks, I'm happy the whole time. Or the yogi thinks, sometimes, I'm experiencing a type of happiness that I've never experienced before. And the yogi is very happy and thinks, this is so good. And the yogi misses to note. So, and one also has the desire to tell others about this special experience. And this is, the Buddha made a remark about how piti and sukha are boosted up by tranquility and other factors that shows how special this experience is. The Buddha said, amanusirati hoti, to describe this type of pleasure that arises due to the practice. The Buddha described that joy and happiness, piti, sukha, which is adorned or supported by tranquility and the other beautiful mind states. He called this amanusirati. So amanusirati. Amanusi means that it is a pleasure to which human pleasures cannot compare. Human pleasures cannot be compared with the type of pleasure that is gained from the Dhamma. Human pleasures means what most people think are good things to see, smell, taste, touch, hear. So touch, ordinary touch, and touch between men and women, and so on. So these types of pleasures that most people think are good cannot possibly be compared to the pleasure of the Dhamma. Nor can the pleasure that celestial beings experience be compared to this pleasure of the Dhamma, Dhamma delight. they can't come close. How special is this pleasure of the Dhamma? It's a pleasure that is always good. It's a pleasure that one never becomes bored with. So ordinarily, when we have something pleasurable in our lives, in terms of our worldly pleasures, if we enjoy something, sooner or later we become bored with it. We like to change the objects of our pleasure from time to time because they get boring, they get old. So the Dhamma pleasure is not like this. The pleasure of the Dhamma, or piti and sukha, joy and happiness, this is called rati, or delight. Dhamma delight never gets old. It never becomes unsatisfactory. So how does this Dhamma rati, delight in the Dhamma delight, arise? It arises due to development of the wholesome mind and knowledge. So we apply the practice to note every arising object with effort, so that mindfulness is developed, sticks to the object, and the mind falls collectedly on the object. So this is the bhavana mind. And we continue to develop this so that knowledge starts to develop based on the clean bhavana mind, beginning with the discernment of nama and rupa. So as we continue the practice, this wholesome mind with knowledge occurs with momentum, and thus this Dhamma delight arises. The Buddha talked about this Dhamma delight from his own experience. He wasn't just making it up. And yogis who reach this stage in the practice don't feel tired at all by the practice. They just want to keep on going. At the start of our practice, we have to apply effort deliberately, and sometimes due to having too much eagerness to gain the Dhamma, we miss the object. Sometimes too, we don't apply enough effort, and then sloth and torpor come in, and we're unable to observe the object clearly. But at this stage in the practice, the effort is neither lacking nor excessive. It's neither lacking nor is it too much. It's balanced. And at this stage in the practice too, one is able to observe objects in a balanced way. One has equanimity towards the objects, so one is able to observe whatever arises with a balanced, aware mind. Since we've gone over time, the remainder of this is going to have to be spoken about tomorrow night. That's all for today. The remainder of this is going to have to be spoken about tomorrow night. That's all for today. The remainder of this is going to have to be spoken about tomorrow night. That's all for today.